just wanted to let you know I love you, and I'm stuck in this building in New York. There's lots of smoke, and we just wanted you to know that I love you always.
And on September 11, 2016, Arvin High students had the opportunity to join the citizens of Bakersfield on a Never Forget memorial ride. This event, held at the Harley-Davidson Center, honored not only those who died on 9/11, but also the first responders and the families that were wounded by this tragic moment in history. We had the opportunity to interview one of the founders of this great event, Ben Patton, and his wife, Jenny Patton. Let's take a look. Welcome to a special edition of Bear 9 News. I'm Ruby Santos, and I am here with Ben Patton and Jenny Patton. They're going to tell us about their role with the 9/11 Never Forget Memorial Motorcycle Ride. I understand that both of you have served our country proudly. Can you tell us what you guys did in the military and what branch you guys were in?
Go ahead.
Sure. I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was in during Desert Storm, stationed in Okinawa during that time. I was a welder in the Marine Corps, so I ended up welding on some of the vehicles that were sent over to, fight on the front lines. So that's what I did in the Marine Corps.
I did my time in the Army in the 70s, and after graduating basic training in Fort Knox, Kentucky, some sergeant asked how many of us were going to be medics, and I raised my hand, which is, I learned that's a mistake when you're in the military. Well, they sent me to what's called jump school, and they threw me out of an airplane twice. Fortunately, I had a parachute. Then I went to Fort Sam Houston, where I became a combat medic. Fortunately, I never had to leave Sam Houston. I kind of stayed there the rest of my entire military career.
Okay. So tell us about the 9/11 event.
9/11 event started 10 years ago by three guys that understood that never forget really means something. And it had been 5 years since the attack, and people were getting away from it. So they put together a motorcycle ride, flying by the seat of their pants. And one thing led to another. The very first ride, we had several hundred motorcycles going up Chester Avenue. Well, it exploded from that year, and people started saying, well, where do I donate? And it wasn't about donating money. It was about truly, it still is, about never forgetting. That thing happened to us. It happened probably right before you were born, or somewhere around there. And this community doesn't want the world to forget. This community wants to understand that young people like all of you are going away every day to places like Afghanistan and Baghdad to make sure that doesn't happen again.
And why motorcycles?
It's what we do. It's the biker community is probably more patriotic than any other community I know. And not just because of the Harley-Davidson, because it transcends motorcycle clubs and makes and everything else. But the biker community, much like the military community, is a close-knit group of people that understand and form a brotherhood and a connection that it just kind of makes sense.
And I think what riding motorcycles represent is freedom. So when you get out on that bike and you get to ride wherever you want to ride, you're free. And that's what this country represents. So it sort of goes together.
Yeah, okay. Why is this event important to you, both of you?
This event is important to me because I work with veterans on a daily basis who suffer from the not so obvious wounds of combat. So when they go over and they go to protect our country to Afghanistan, and they've been to Iraq, they come back with the not so obvious wounds, the post-traumatic stress disorder. Every day I work with women and men who come back suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. So in remembering this ride, we're remembering them and their sacrifices. So in doing this ride every year, not only are we remembering the events that happened and how our country came together, but we're sort of paying our respects as well to those folks who go over and protect our country. So that's really important to me, to not only remember the day, the events, the people who lost their lives then, the first responders, but also our servicemen and women who have gone over and fought for this country and still suffer today the effects of that.
15 years ago, those 3,000 people were not anonymous. They had names. They were moms and dads and brothers and sisters and sons and daughters. And they all perished. You guys are probably too young to remember, but on September 12th or 13th of 2001, you couldn't buy a flag in the city of Bakersfield. They were all bought. They were all hanging. This country had overwhelming patriotism that hadn't been seen since December 8th, 1941. So why is this event important? Because we don't lose that. We don't want to lose that. We want to maintain that patriotism, that unity in this country. It doesn't matter what color, religion, what motorcycle you ride, what car you drive. There was a unity, there was a camaraderie in this country that is truly deserving of never forgetting it. That's why it's important.
How did this journey affect your life? What led you to be doing this?
Several things, not the least of which that I'm a veteran, my wife's a veteran, my son and daughter-in-law are veterans, and my youngest son is still active duty in the Navy. Those things all are driving forces to keep this alive. Because like Jenny said, we have to remember that people just like you people in this classroom, 2-3 years from now, you could be headed off to do what you have to do so we can live the lives that we want to live every day. That's the part of never forgetting that's important to me, is we get to live our life every day the way we want to, because people are out doing what they have to do so that kind of attack doesn't happen again. That's the journey.
I think in the way that it's affected my life is I came on later, after the event had already started. I met Ben later in time. So to go to this event each year and to see how many people in this community alone, that show up, that still remember that we're a tight-knit country, that we're patriots, that we love our freedoms, that it's the right thing to do to support our country and our troops. I see them come out every year in droves, hundreds. And for me, after getting busy with my daily life and work, and like I said, I work with veterans every single day, and you get busy and you sort of get into a routine of things. I'm reminded every year at this time, and other times of course, but especially at this time, that our country and our community is very patriotic, and they're very supportive of our veterans and our troops. And being a veteran myself, it's very special to me. And so that affects my life, and that it makes me even more proud to be an American.
So what was your favorite part about the event, the ride?
Well, there were a couple things that just happened this year. We sent, on that very day, six young men off to the Marine Corps, and then 6 more off to the Army. And if you think about the significance of that, on the day this country suffered the biggest tragedy, the anniversary of the day, there were 12 young people, not much older than you guys, that were raising their right hand and saying, yeah, I'll go do that for you. I'll make sure that you guys can sleep peaceably in your beds at night. That was probably the most emotional part for me, because there's parents there, and these young people, they know what's going on in the world. They're not stupid. They got smartphones and they got cable TV, so they know. But yet they're still raising their right hand saying, yeah, I'll go do that. And to have them leave that day was pretty incredible for me.
I think every year my favorite part of the ride is the ride on Zerka Road, where it's hundreds of motorcycles, and sort of the hum of all those motorcycles gives you just a moment. The setting, it's out sort of in the country, and it's quiet, and other than the hum of the motorcycles, not a lot of traffic. So you really have that moment to reflect on the reason we're out there. You know, the reason, unfortunately, the people who passed, remembering them, thinking about our future, thinking about, like Ben said, some of the recruits that went off. So you really have a moment to really reflect on the events in 9/11 and the reason we're out there. And of course, the helicopter that the Kern County Fire Department every year, I think, just about has, that we've requested it, they've sent out their Helitech from Keene helicopter to come escort us out there. So that, it gives you chills, it gives you goosebumps. It's just an amazing thing to know that you have that support, one, but to feel that just that patriotism and that pride out there with everyone else, that's probably my two favorite spots.
The interesting story about that helicopter, both of those helicopters, is both of those Hueys served in Vietnam in the late 60s and 70s. Both of those Hueys were instrumental in saving people's lives. They were medevac choppers. If you think about that, in September 11th, there were choppers being used to save people's lives. And for me, being in the military in the 70s, when it wasn't cool, to have that tradition with us was, like Jenny said, it's overwhelming. I look up and I see that bird, and I realize that, you know, some of my friends might have been saved by that. Her former boss was probably medevaced. We kind of did some research, and we believe 407 was probably in country about the same time Vernon got hurt. So for us, the helicopters are pretty tremendous.
And why is it for us, like all of us, to remember 9/11?
I think because you're kids, because you guys are so young when that thing happened. Most of us now, Jenny, myself, most of the people we associate with, we know exactly where we were standing, what we were doing when we saw that on TV. We know exactly what was going on. And for you guys, we need to instill in you guys that this happened to us. It's not just a history lesson. It's not just something you see in the news. It really and truly happened to us. 3,000 people over the course of 44 minutes or something like that. So we don't want you to forget. We want you to remember. We want you guys to be vigilant and to be part of this. You guys are the future of this country. You guys are going to see to it that my grandkids have a future. And if we forget something like this, then we're destined to let it happen again. That's my side of it.
I can't say it any better. I agree. We had December 7th, so Pearl Harbor, and then we had 9/11. Unfortunately, something like that could happen again if we're not vigilant, if we don't protect this country. We have to understand that it is as important to protect this country as it is to live our everyday lives, so that these things don't happen again.
And what are your future plans?
We're going to do it again.
You're just going to go on?
We're going to do it again until I can't ride, and then I'll get a trike, and then I'll have somebody.
Maybe you'll ride on the back of my motorcycle.
Or not.
And again, can you please tell us where this event is held so we can go and participate next year?
At Bakersfield Harley-Davidson. Next year will be a Monday, so it'll be a little different, but we'll go from the Harley store probably out to Minterfield, maybe make a return trip to the National Cemetery. I do want to say thank you guys for doing this, and Johnny, thank you for putting this all together. This is, it's a incredibly emotional event. Did I know anybody that was killed in New York? No. Do I know a lot of cops and a lot of firemen? Yeah. Do I know a lot of young people that have gone off to do what they have to do? Yeah. Was I willing to go again? Yeah, but then we'll take old guys. Otherwise I would have gone. And you guys stepping up to do this, it shows that at least Arvin High School hasn't forgotten. And that's important to me. It's important to the people that I associate with. Thank you so much.
So that's it for today. Thank you, both of you, for being here and just giving us an insight about what really happens in our community. Just a lot of people don't really know about this, and hopefully you guys will come and participate next year. And just thank you also so much.
Thanks, Ruby.
Thank you.
We'd like to thank everybody who helped make this video possible, and we would also like to thank all those who participated in this year's event. Before we go, let's take one last look at this memorable event. I'm Ruby Santos. Thanks for joining me.
It's about heroes.
It's about heroes. It's about our...
To also support first responders and veterans.
We have a free country, and it's only because of these men. Kids off at daycare. They were in an office building visiting somebody. They didn't expect to die.